This is a changing,
And this is a diaper.
and this half sheet of paper represents one diaper change. Now, let's do the math. If a baby averages 6 diaper changes in the course of a day, that means at the end of the first year, mom and dad, you will have changed approximately 2,190 diapers.
And while things will improve slightly over the next 12 months, if you average 5 diaper changes a day, you will add an additional 1,825 diapers to the pile.
And that brings the second year grand total to approximately 4,015. And by the time your child approaches the halfway mark to his 3rd birthday, you will have topped out at 5,000 diaper changes.
And all of this is for just one child? Is it any wonder that after changing this many diapers, many parents begin to think seriously about potty training? Which brings about some additional questions. Where do I begin? Is my child old enough? Is my child ready for training?
And the answer to these questions and many more are just moments away. In fact, over the next 27 minutes, we will give you the key principles that have made potty training 1, 2, 3 highly effective and very successful. And while we cannot give you any promises, we can tell you that many of our moms who started with the principles of potty training 1, 2, 3 actually completed their training within hours of beginning the process of teaching their child.
And most certainly within a day or two. Or you can extend the process if necessary because the principles are not based on time, rather on a child's understanding.
What makes potty training 1, 2, 3 highly effective is the combination of the right timing, the right method, and certainly the right motivation.
Timing. This refers to learning to recognize the optimal window for training.
Method. This refers to learning the most effective ways to teach the potty training process.
Motivation. This refers to learning how to sustain your toddler's enthusiasm about using the potty.
Potty training 1, 2, 3. This is more than just a book. This is a mindset for responsible training. Let's take this journey together.
With my son Andrew, using the potty training 1, 2, 3 method, we started on a Monday morning, and by Tuesday night, he was clean and dry day and night.
I was introduced to potty training 1, 2, 3 by a girlfriend who had phenomenal results. I wasn't sure if I'd have the same results, but I applied the principles, and sure enough, within 1 day, my daughter was completely bladder trained. Within 4 days, she was completely trained day and night.
Those were certainly encouraging testimonies of what can be achieved through potty training 1, 2, 3.
And what really is even more encouraging is the fact that the results we just heard can be duplicated in the homes of the moms and dads joining us. But before we move into the how-to mechanics of training, or how all of these items in front of us actually fit into the overall process, we first must clarify the goal or the purpose of training. This is exactly where the moms we just heard from began their journey of successful potty training.
And this is probably where most parents miss the mark. Too often parents put a greater emphasis on their child using the potty as the benchmark of successful potty training. It may come as a surprise to you, but getting your child to use the potty is not the primary goal of your training.
No, it's not. And mom, dad, if that is what you are working towards, you're missing something even more fundamental, because the primary objective of potty training is to teach your little one the concept of staying dry and clean. Staying dry and clean is the why behind your training. It is the why behind your child using the potty. It is really the greater goal.
Using the potty, on the other hand, is how your child achieves the goal of staying dry and clean. This is not simply a matter of semantics. Dry and clean represents a different dimension of training that makes more sense to the child, and it will help your son or daughter be more proactive in learning the necessary skill of bladder and bowel control.
And as a point of clarification, when we use the term dry, we're really referring to bladder control, and when we use the term clean, we're referring to bowel control. Once you have your child routinely checking for his or her own dryness and understanding the physical sense of cleanness, you're already halfway to successful potty training.
Now, which process do you begin with? Bladder control versus bowel control? What do you need to know about these two independent functions? First, from a physiological standpoint, bladder training is actually more complex because there are more neurological and physiological components that must mature before bladder control can actually be achieved.
In contrast, the only specific readiness cue for bowel training is the child's ability to sit upright in a chair, which usually is achieved by 7 or 8 months of age. This is where cultural expectations come into play, and they vary really from country to country. For example, our Asian babies are bowel trained, on the most part, by the time they're a year old. Non-Asian cultures like our own tend to look at developmental markers as the cue to start training, so we tend to postpone training to the second and sometimes the third year.
Which method is right, wrong, or superior? Well, neither approach can be classified this way or in these terms. It's just a matter of preference and expectation. And the same is true when it comes to which biological function you choose to begin with. Will it be bowel training first or bladder training? There are advantages and disadvantages to both, and you should become familiar with them before starting the training process.
Yes, they really should, and you can read about the advantages and disadvantages in your book. As for our presentation, well, we're going to begin with bladder training and start with the readiness factors. What behavioral cues should a mom and dad be looking for before they start to train?
The difference for us was where we put our focus. Potty Training 1, 2, 3 helped us to focus on the right questions. Instead of asking, are you wet? Do you need to go to the potty? We learned to ask, are you dry? Are you clean? That made all the difference in the world.
Of the many universal laws of child development, there is one that has specific application for potty training. It's called the structure-function principle, and it states that a child cannot perform certain biological or neurological functions until specific developmental structures are in place and sufficiently mature.
That's a fancy way of saying don't start training your child until she has the capacity to learn and the ability to achieve.
Yeah, well, that pretty much summarizes it.
And keep in mind the second universal principle of potty training. Every child is different. Just because little Sarah Lynn successfully potty trained at 24 months doesn't mean her cousin will be ready for it at that age, or for that matter, any subsequent siblings. Moms and dads, please understand that all children reach the point of developmental readiness for potty training, but they don't all reach it at the same time. Even gender has an influence on readiness. Girls tend to demonstrate readiness sooner than boys.
Readiness really is a big thing, but we must understand this from both sides of the equation. Now, there's the child side of readiness, and certainly there's the parent side of readiness. So let's see if we can make sense out of this. In children, there are 3 phases of bladder readiness. Take a look at this graphic. First comes the awakening phase, which usually begins between 18 and 24 months.
At some point, your child awakens to the sensation of bladder pressure. And while your toddler begins to recognize the pressure message on her bladder, she's not fully aware of what it means or what to do with it.
Next comes the mediating phase, starting around 22 months and extending to 32 months. This is when your child becomes aware that she can actually control the muscles that release her urine, and she becomes increasingly aware of the sensation of actually going in response to the controlling muscles.
It is during this second phase that your child will stop an activity, do her business, tug on her diaper, and then want you to change her right away.
She will probably even point and say, stinky, meaning change me now. Well, there's the third phase of readiness, and it's the educational phase of training. And this involves teaching your child what to do with her urine rather than just releasing it into her diaper. This is when you actually begin to teach the concepts of staying dry and clean.
And please take note, what this graph shows us is that each phase, while distinct, will overlap with the others, and that means no phase has a definitive starting point, but rather a range of time that bladder training can actually begin to make sense to the child.
But there is more to the readiness challenge because there's also daytime and nighttime bladder readiness. And these 2 factors actually represent different responses in the brain. When a child acquires the ability to interpret the daytime bladder message between 22 and 32 months, her bladder really has the capacity to hold urine for about 2 to 4 hours. But that's about it.
And this is one reason nighttime training may not be achieved for another 6 months to a year, depending on your child's age. The child's bladder must have the capacity to store urine during the longer period of nighttime sleep, and when this can be achieved varies from child to child.
We know some kids who are day and night trained by age 2, others by 30 months, and still others may not be fully night trained until after their 3rd birthday. Just please remember, every child is different.
In addition to the bladder's ability to store urine, there is a second neurological component associated with nighttime dryness, and that is the maturing of the brain to bladder wake reflex. Of course, we as adults are familiar with this sensation. It's what wakes us up in the middle of the night because we have a full bladder. But in young children, the nighttime wake reflex connection is the last piece of the puzzle to mature and become operative.
Just keep in mind that it may not happen until your child passes the 30-month mark, and for some unknown reason, some children may not mature for several more years. You could read more about the implications of this in bedwetting challenges that children and parents sometimes experience because their little one has a switch in their brain that hasn't quite turned on yet. It will eventually do so. Now, why are we giving you all this information? This is our way of emphasizing that you can really start the process of teaching your child how to stay dry and clean as soon as the mediating phase kicks in. It also means you can have a toddler in big boy or big girl underwear during the day as early as 24 to 30 months, but still in pull-ups at night until the brain-wake reflex connection is actually made.
Okay, with that information established, the next question is this: how do you know if your child has reached the mediating phase for daytime training? Here are some tangible signs of readiness to look for. Parents should be looking for a toddler who stays dry for 2 or more hours at a time, has regular bowel movements, starting to wake up from naps dry. You find him stopping an activity while urinating or messing in his diaper, stands a certain way and holds on to her diaper as she eliminates, shows an interest in big girl or big boy underwear, wants to imitate parents or older siblings using the toilet, is able to understand and follow simple instructions.
My husband and I picked up Potty Training 123, and we read it and we realized that our twin boys just were not ready to be trained yet. So 6 months later we picked it up and we started on a Thursday, we ended on a Tuesday, and our kids were day and night trained. It was great.
While potty readiness begins with the child, potty training starts with the parent. You know by the signals your toddler is sending that he or she is physically ready and well into the mediating phase. But now it is up to you to decide when to begin and what you need to start the process.
There are some obvious equipment needs. For example, you need a potty chair if you're going to potty train. I mean, this is pretty basic to the process. But there is also the potty seat. Now, we do not think that this has the same advantages as the potty chair simply because it's not as mobile, meaning without a toilet, it doesn't work. You also need some fun snacks. Now, snacks serve a dual purpose. First, as a reward to the child, and second, and most importantly, they serve to increase your child's thirst. A thirsty child drinks more, which leads to more urine output, which leads to more opportunities to train in the specifics of staying dry and clean.
Now, regarding the snacks, you can use pretzels, cookies, candy, or any fun treat that your child enjoys. As a mom and a nurse, I recognize that fruit slices are much more nutritious than anything just mentioned, but fruit does not create the thirst necessary, nor are they as fun as some of these other treats. You also will need plenty of drinks that can go into a spill-free sippy cup.
The object is to get as many fluids into your child that will create an incredible urge or sense to go. Now, the more the bladder has to be emptied, the more opportunities you have to train, and certainly the more experience that your child is getting sitting on the potty. But the single most important item that ties potty training all together and makes the message very meaningful is this potty training doll. Our preference, of course, is to use a teddy bear because a teddy bear is gender neutral. It's just the right size. Both little boys, little girls enjoy teddy bears. Now, the key here is understanding that the bear becomes the child and the child becomes the teacher, and that's the secret to rapid and sustained learning. Your child will more quickly acquire the practical knowledge because your child is actively engaged in the process of teaching the concept of dry and clean.
Finally, besides some equipment and certainly these food items, you need to set aside a specific block of time. Most moms clear a day to focus on nothing but potty training. This means when you initially begin, you must eliminate as many distractions from your day as you can. Make arrangements for any siblings to visit a friend for the day. The TV and the radio should stay off, and the answering machine should pick up the phone calls.
And this is certainly not the day for you to go out grocery shopping or to have a friend over for lunch. There is only one thing going on in your house, and that's potty training. One more suggestion. You might consider starting your training on Friday so you can take advantage of Dad's presence during the weekend for the follow-up help and certainly encouragement that he can offer.
Okay, with these basic items sitting in your kitchen and a block of time set aside, we are ready to advance to the actual training steps. Let's talk about potty training 1, 2, 3. First, there is the preparation. Second comes the actual training, and third is the follow-up.
My daughter Caroline was only 23 months old when we started using Potty Training 123, and I was pleasantly surprised that in just a few days she was both day and nighttime trained.
Okay, let's talk preparation. And this usually starts the day before you actually begin training. Basically, 24 hours earlier, you're going to be setting the stage for learning and you're going to be creating opportunities for training. Now, this is a great time to introduce the teddy bear wearing training pants. Spend some time together with your little one, showing your little one how to check the bear's pants with her little fingers or his little fingers for dryness. And then explain in simple terms that tomorrow the two of you are going to start the process of potty training.
You will also need to plan a trip to the grocery store together, allowing your child to help select some novelty treats and drinks. Remember, the snacks must be fun and appealing to your toddler's palate if they're going to serve as a motivator. When you arrive home, leave everything out in plain sight, such as on your counter. This will serve as a visual reminder of what's going to happen tomorrow morning.
You can even let your toddler sample a treat or two, but no more than that. You see, sampling the snacks helps produce a healthy anticipation, which helps then to motivate the child through the learning process. Okay, when nighttime comes and you're ready to tuck your little one in bed, show her the teddy bear one more time and have her check the bear's pants to make sure that the pants are dry. The teddy bear can even sleep with the child for the night. Then when morning comes and you're going to get through all your kisses and hugs, you want your child to check the bear one more time for dryness.
This is when you can make a big deal out of the bear staying dry all night. And while the bear will be dry, your child will not. So remove any soggy diaper and get your little one dressed in training pants and outer clothing that's easily removed. As for breakfast, keep it fairly simple and light, meaning no sugary cereals, no syrupy pancakes or cinnamon toast. Save the sweets for later, but make sure you offer lots of fun liquids.
After breakfast, you have a very short window of opportunity to start training. The child has a satiated tummy and received her morning drinks. It will be just a matter of time before what went in must come out. That means make sure you begin immediately after the meal. I mean, don't worry about washing your dishes right now. Don't worry about vacuuming the living room. Start role-playing with the doll, because the most important thing is to be ready when your child, figuratively and literally, is ready to go.
Now, let's talk about the 5 steps of training.
Potty Training 123 worked effectively with all 3 of our children. Our first 2 were successful within days. Our third child took a little bit longer because she does have special needs. However, because we stayed with the principles, she was able to learn to keep herself clean and dry way ahead of what medical experts told us to expect.
All right, we have now arrived at the place where we can begin walking you through the 5 training steps. Now here's the first one for you to understand. Take a sippy cup and fill it 1/4 full with a fun drink, lemonade, chocolate milk, or a favorite juice snack. Just before you direct your child to offer the sippy cup to the bear, have your child sample the drink to confirm just how yummy it tastes. Then, with your assistance, have your toddler offer a pretend drink to the bear. Afterwards, take some time together and play with the bear.
Step 2, wait a few minutes and with a fun sense of urgency in your voice, ask the big question, is your bear dry? Have her check the bear's pants for dryness. Of course, the pants are dry, so your child should say yes. Join her in praising the bear for staying dry and follow through by giving the bear a small treat that the child gets to share. Step 3, a few minutes later, encourage her to bring the bear to the potty. Be sure to put an ounce or 2 of water into the bowl beforehand. Wait a few minutes and then say, listen, followed by you making a sound like "Sss." Then, with enthusiasm, ask, "Did the bear go potty?" In the pretend world of your toddler, this fun little game is not just amusing but educational. When she discovers the water in the bowl, clap your hands in praise and enthusiastically say, "The teddy used the potty. Let's give her a big treat." Obviously, the bear won't consume the treats, but you want your child to appreciate how big the reward is for using the potty to stay dry. Then, sometime during the next 5 minutes, turn your attention to your toddler and move to step 4.
In a few moments, you're going to direct your toddler to check her pants like she checked the bear's pants. When you ask, "Are you dry?" your child should say yes or at least give you a nod. That is when you offer her her first reward. Now, it doesn't have to be a major reward. It could be just a few M&Ms or some fun drink, but it does have to be enticing. Now we come to the critical step 5. You now have a dry child, and you should capitalize on this. Wait just a few minutes and then have your toddler sit on the potty just as the bear did. She can even sit with the bear. Now, success requires that the child sit on the seat 4 to 10 minutes. Anything less usually produces poor results. You can read a little story together or watch a short video. Do whatever it takes to keep her sitting.
Although never to the point that your child becomes frustrated. When that happens, the whole day is lost. If you start to sense some resistance to sitting, then take her off the potty and try again in 5 or 10 minutes. If she goes, she gets the double reward and plenty of praise. If she doesn't go potty, then go back to the question. Are you dry? Reward, back to the potty for a few more moments. And keep those treats in front of her.
Remember, the praise is for staying dry and clean. Once you hear the first tinkle in that potty, say something like, "You did it, Anna. You stay dry and clean because you used the potty. Let's call Grandma and tell her." And by the way, the more people that you could pull into the encouragement process in these early moments of training, the better it will be for the child.
I didn't discover Potty Training 123 until my 4th child. With her, I focused on the principles of staying clean and dry, and she was completely trained in 24 hours. Wow. I wish I had this with my other kids.
Now we can talk about follow-up. From this point forward, training is basically a repetition of the previous 5 steps. Although the novelty of the doll will wear off, repeating the other steps will keep the process going and keep you in control. For the next several hours, you should repeatedly ask the question, "Are you dry?" If she is, reward her.
And if there is an accident, don't make a big deal out of it, please. Just keep moving forward with your training. I mean, that's why you set aside a block of time just for things like this. And please remember, when dry and clean is the object of reward, you, the parent, you're actually in control. Every time you ask the question, "Are you dry?" you put yourself in a place to reward and to encourage without depending on your child's performance.
And you can ask that question as many times as you think necessary between potty breaks. Meanwhile, rewards are continually reinforcing in the mind of your toddler the importance of staying dry.
And please note that the primary reason that children regress in potty training is because parents forget the fundamentals of success. Now, please, make it a habit each week or before and after or between meal times and after nap times to direct your toddler to check his or her pants for dryness. If necessary, set a timer to remind yourself.
And also remember, while you will start cutting back on the rewards within a day or so, do not abandon them completely. And of course, always give your child enthusiastic praise for staying dry and clean.
Okay, let's stop right here and turn the corner on the topic and talk briefly about bowel training and toddlers. Now, here are some basic things to understand. First, bowel training with children requires a different set of muscle responses, which means there's a new set of skills that they have to learn. Second, part of the success of bowel training is knowing your child's elimination pattern. Now, this is usually fairly predictable by the age of 2. You can plan some potty sit times to help your child along the way, like right after breakfast or maybe just before lunch.
And third, with a little bit of planning and reinforcing the question, "Are you clean?" bowel training usually is mastered once bladder training is achieved. More helpful facts and motivating ideas can be found in your Potty Training 123 book. Okay, with all these points made, let's do a quick review. Clear your calendar for 1 to 4 days to give focused attention to potty training, minimizing unnecessary interruptions. Create thirst in your toddler by offering appropriate snacks and have plenty of fun liquids available. Have your toddler offer a drink to the bear. In a few minutes, ask your toddler to check the bear for dryness. Have your toddler offer the teddy bear a small treat for staying dry. Wait a few minutes and then have her sit the bear on the potty and listen for the appropriate wetting sound. Show her how to clean up, including washing her hands. Wait a few minutes and then ask your toddler to check herself for dryness. Offer her a reward for staying dry and clean. Have her sit on the potty while you hold a double treat in your hands. When she goes, use praise and rewards for staying dry and clean. Follow up during the next several days by asking, "Are your pants dry?" Give enthusiastic praise when they are and reward. Keep your potty training book handy.
I was going to wait until the new baby came before training my 2-year-old. But then a dear friend encouraged me to pick up Potty Training 123, and I am so glad that I did. Because we started training Lily on Thursday morning, we saw immediate results, and by Friday night, she was completely diaper-free.
Well, we made it to the end, and we want to leave you with a few wrap-up thoughts.
First, and not surprisingly, we found a correlation exists between potty training success and children who are more prone to comply with parental instructions. Children who willingly submit to basic instructions such as "sit down please," "come to mama," "fold your hands," or "do not touch" were usually trained within a day. Most were trained within 2, and all were trained within 3 or 4 days.
Now, that doesn't mean there weren't some potty accidents here and there, but accidents are really part of the transition, and each week they become less and less. Also, I think it's important to note that different parents have different needs. You might be wondering, if a child can be potty trained in hours or even days, why would anyone want to stretch out the process? But actually, there are a number of good reasons why some parents choose options with longer training windows. You can read all about these additional options in your book.
And like any training experience, nothing is always perfect, and there can be days of frustration. For example, the most likely time for parents to become frustrated with potty training is after the process has begun. Success has been achieved routinely, but not consistently, and potty accidents begin to happen. Yet, if you sit down with a group of moms and dads and listen to their questions, you'll discover the most common challenges fall into one of 5 general scenarios.
And the answers to these scenarios usually solve 75% of all challenges. And the good news is, these are all written in detail in your potty training book.
If the scenarios answer 75% of the problems, what about the other 25%, Gare?
Those are answered in the next chapter, where we take up the 15 most commonly asked questions related to those unexpected bumps in the road, along with a variety of "what if my child" type questions. Put them together with the 5 scenarios, and we are very confident that you can move from partial success with potty training to complete day, and in time, nighttime dryness.
There you have it. Potty Training 123 has worked smoothly for thousands of parents, and it can work for you. When you bring together the right timing, the right method, and the right motivation, you can exchange all of these for these, and we think it's a good exchange.
Enjoy the advantages of a dry and clean child, and enjoy hearing those encouraging and welcoming words, "Mommy, I have to go potty." Thank you once again for allowing us the privilege of joining you in the wonderful adventure of parenting.
Once you understand the difference between the why and how of potty training, you're halfway to success.
What Potty Training 123 provides is the language that makes training so understandable for a toddler. I think that's why they learn so quickly.
I felt no stress, no frustration. It really was as easy as 1, 2, 3.
The principles are clear, concise, and easy to put into practice.
It's all about the right timing, the right method, and the right motivation. 1, 2, 3.
It made my life easy, and I ended up with a dry and clean child in 2 days.
It works!
We hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to see more, and check out the growingfamilies.life website to find more resources and to get connected.